10 seconds.
Is this where the damn drumming and the music kicks in?
Yeah. Everybody, hello and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepardson, and today is Wednesday, March the 5th, 2025, years after zero. You're joining me just in time. It's kind of just in time. It's a little bit late past the time, but you know what? Hey, man, we're here. We're getting ready. We got this whole thing set up. A lot of cords, a lot of wires, a lot of things going on. As we mentioned, we're trying to build up the program. You know what I mean? We're presented by Yamaha Motors USA now. Big dogs. So stepping up the production. Had some technical difficulties yesterday. Was able to get it sorted today. So now we're working through it, trying to figure this whole thing out. We're going to be joined by a very special guest here in just a moment. That took most of this evening to figure out how to do it. But you know what? We got it, and we're here, and we're rolling. So I want to say thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. As I mentioned, we're presented by Yamaha, the Blue Crew. Was able to ride the bike around in the sands of Florida this past weekend. It was a good time because to get to every camera shot, you have to go down this big old straightaway. So there's a couple times where there's no spectators, nobody around, able to wick that thing up a little bit. You know what I mean? So had a good bit of fun doing that. Easy for me to say. Oh crap! I played the intro again. I'm sorry. See, you know what? We're learning. We're trying to figure it out. But you know what? We'll get it dialed in eventually. Got two computers here going on. A lot of stuff going on, so I apologize. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, we'll go ahead and bring in our guest of the evening. As we mentioned last week, Big Tom was going to be out of town this week. And coincidentally, this person reached out to me after the race, had a good race going on until they didn't, which was a bummer because we were excited to see it riding good. Let's welcome to the program, Jesse Ansley. Jesse, what's going on, dude?
Man, I got some big shoes to fill, apparently. I didn't know I was going to be put on a spot like that.
Hey, man, you said you wanted to come on the show. I said, hey, you want to come host the show?
I know. I was like, man, maybe I get like a 5-10 minute segment, kind of explain my weekend. And then you're like, well, you just want to host the show? I was like, yeah, why not? It can't be that hard. And then you're like, all right, I need some details. I need you to study up on this. And I'm like, all right, it's going to be a little bit harder than I expected. But hey, we're here. And I'm excited. Yeah, I haven't done a podcast like this. Like, we're going to be talking about a little bit about the racing, a little bit about some scandals, So I don't want to say too much because right now I'm kind of flying under the radar with everybody. Not too many people like me, not too many people hate me. So we're I feel like I don't know, it's gonna be a fun time. So
well, good luck because all that just got ruined. You said this is the hard part. Wait till you get to Alabama this weekend. People are throwing rocks at you because of things you said on here.
yeah, no kidding. Yeah, but no, it was good. Like you said, Florida, man, sandy, and I don't know. I had a good ride, but we can talk about that a little bit later. I don't know what you got going on, but
No, we're going to get into the
yeah.
full race in action. And I love how you started off by saying that you were flying under the radar. But after we talked about this, the first text back from you was all the gossip, all the drama. You're coming with the hard-hitting stuff. So
I guess, because I don't know. I just kind of keep to myself. Like no one really knows where I park at the races. I'm down there like with the B riders, auxiliary row. They don't even have a spot for me this year, which is comical. Like first round, I guess I didn't respond to an email, which is my fault. I swear I didn't get an email, but it is what it is, But no, the first round didn't get a spot. Second round didn't have a spot, so I just kind of snuck in, took a vacant, spot, kind of by the trash cans. But now I kind of just keep to myself, cycle the track by myself, and then I get like I get all the the sources, and I'm like, oh, I kind of get that intel. So no, I mean, it's always fun, right? You don't want to blow anybody out. And like, I don't really dislike anybody out there. So I feel like I can talk about it and it's fair game. You know, it's like, if you're going to be stupid, you might as well, like, you're going to have to take it sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing, dude. I don't got any ill will with anyone, but being the only source of media in the sport and how small knit it is, like as soon as you say someone can take anything the wrong way. So it's a fun challenge to navigate, and I'm glad that you get to be a part of it now too.
Well, I think for like me, obviously I'm still trying to be a professional racer. I have a lot more on my plate nowadays, but like I've been one of those where I get a little butthurt, something someone says, like, oh, this guy's gonna beat you or he wasn't performing good this weekend. Like obviously it's gonna hurt, but then it's like, maybe he's right a little bit. And at the end of the day, it gets clicks and it brings attention, whether obviously if someone's bad mouthing you and trashing you, obviously that's not very cool. But
Yeah,
like
tactfully.
this is the this is the name of the game of media. And like you really think as a racer I want to like do clickbait and I want to do that kind of stuff? Like no. But I do it because people click on it and I get views and I get money. And that's how the world works. This is how it works when you don't win GNCC races at 17 years old and winning overall podiums. You have to kind of do stuff like that to kind of be relevant. So that's what we're here doing.
No, dude, and like to that point, I talk about it a lot in the show. Like I always bring you up for reference when we get into the social media stuff and building your brand and making your own exposure and that kind of thing because I think you're a perfect example of someone that's done a good job with that with your YouTube channel and vlogging and even putting in the commercials for Sarasota Power Sports and everything you got going on. And for those that haven't been listening to OTP for as long, Jesse and I, well, I'm from the same hometown or next town over as Jesse in Florida, the same county, and he actually lives. So the first time you were on the show, you came over and we did the show in the clubhouse of the apartments that my mom was living in at the time, and then you ended up moving to those same apartments. So,
Yeah, a year ago. That was pretty wild. That was like my first time being on a podcast. And then it was kind of like your start as well. Like you did a couple
it was early,
and
yeah.
you're like, "Hey, you won this XC3 race. Do you want to come on?" And I was like, "Sure." Man, this winning thing gets you like people ask you for stuff. This is sick.
Yeah.
And then like 2 years later, you're trash talking me saying how I suck on a 250F and then I did not like you.
When did I say
And
that?
then
Did that
no,
really
I don't
happen,
think
or are
you
you just
no,
busting my balls?
I don't think you really said that, but that was a long hiatus. So then finally I'm like, you know what? I actually rode decent enough to where I'm not embarrassed to go on any podcast. So I reached out. I was like, hey, I want to go back. It's been way too long. And I think you were upset when I denied you asking for a podcast when I won the National Enduro race. So there was a little like, emotions going on. So
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm here. Okay. I'm here.
I forget that
How
story now too, dude. I First of all, I got so much going on right now. I got people calling me. I got 3 screens I'm monitoring. What was the deal with the National Enduro thing? Because I remember reaching out and trying to get you on after the championship, and you were like, I think it was when you were switching to the Cowie or something. You were like, "Oh, come on, when I have something to talk about or something." I forget what it was. You cool guy
well,
me.
the whole National Enduro, I don't want to go on a tangent because this is the weekend recap. This isn't Jesse Ansley and Tyler Shepperson's relationship.
No,
But
it's
I think
both. Did you not
this is a
watch
good
Weekend
story.
Reviews with Stu?
I did. I did a little bit. This isn't going to be as entertaining, but this is a good story for people that are listening. And no, it was 2021, I think. Yep, 2021. And it was a KTM thing. I was a little upset for 2020. I was supposed to have a fill-in ride, a factory fill-in ride. Anyways, that's a long story. But 2021, I'm like, I'm gonna race the National Enduro, and I'm gonna prove that I'm like really good at enduros. And everyone I talked to was like, no, that's dumb. And literally, I called Auntie, was like, hey, I'm gonna go to National Enduro. He's like, no. I said, well, I want to ride my race bike for GNCC at a race, and he's like, oh, okay, go to Sumter. And I literally told Auntie, I was like, what's the bonus structure? And he goes, oh, the best we can do is the contingency. And I was like, well, I don't care about the canonicity because I'm going there to win. And he's like, well, we're just testing the bike, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I want my per diem and I want win bonus. And he's like, just go there, blah, blah, blah. He just kind of blew me off. And then I won. I was like, I think I'm good at enduro. So I won. And after the race, it was like, oh, good job. And I was like, for what? Like, thanks. I told you I was gonna win. Like, not being cocky, but I was like, I'm either gonna win or I'm gonna crash really hard because I was sending it that day. And I'm like, and that's just, I'm honestly better when I ride by myself. And yeah, I won. And then everyone's like, oh, so many texts and so many people come out of the woodwork. Oh, you won the national enduro. I was like, sick, you know. I was like, it was happy, but I was like, whatever. And then you were like, oh, come on the podcast. And I was like, nah, like I'll wait till I do it again or whatever. And then you're like, oh, you're all upset on me. So I was like, I can't win, Like I just wanted to win, kind of do my thing. And yeah, that was a good year, man. That was a good year. I won a couple races, made a couple Benjamins, and that's in the past though. That's in the past. Now we're back on your podcast. I haven't won any races lately, but I'm on your podcast.
Hey, man, thanks for the time. It's not too often I get a giant YouTube sensation on here.
Well, you get more views than me these days, so.
But no, I mean, talk a little bit about your racing program. And this is weekend review. We're going to talk about the races. There's an NGPC that happened out west. We'll go through those results. And then obviously, GNCC happened this past weekend. Ton of storylines coming out of it. KR back on the podium. No one got our dollar bet right, so we did predictions last week. I got a ton of messages and had to sort through all of them. Nobody got it right. So maybe we'll try again some other time. But
can we go, like, can you explain, like, how the betting went? Because I had no idea about this.
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know.
So Tom likes to force me into predictions, which I hate doing.
Okay.
As we talked about before we started, now that this is what I do for a living, quote unquote, it's a lot harder to kind of skate those areas and get people mad at me. When I was working, I was like, I don't need this. It's just for fun. But now it's like, I don't want to piss everybody off. And believe it or not, out of all the 100 and something people that race, only one person can win. I know that's hard for some people to believe. So anytime you pick one person to win, you got 200 people that think you said that they suck. And so I hate getting into predictions. I hate playing the prediction game, but we put it out to all the listeners last week that if anybody could correctly guess the top 3 from Florida overall, that we would send out an OTP prize pack, but nobody got it. A lot of people won off, myself included. I was one off. There's a lot of people that were one off.
So we're doing that again for Talladega then.
I guess we might could.
Because me personally, I would love an OTP prize pack. And right now I'm doing pretty good at PulpMX fantasies. So I might give you a run for your prize pack here.
Hey man, I finished 13th overall this past weekend in PulpMX.
I saw that. You do get a what'd you get again?
A filter kit.
Filter kit from Pro Filter.
Yep. No free ads though. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, sorry.
No. So I had a third at one of the Triple Crown rounds last year. I think I had a third, but I didn't pay for the championship thing. So I would have won a set of tires, but I didn't pay to play. But you had what? You had like a top 10 or a top 5 or something earlier this year, didn't you?
No, I was sitting second overall physically in the championship, but I never got inside the top 30 individually on a round. But yeah, I was. We have a group chat. Obviously, I'm in a league or whatever, and it's funny. I go back and forth. Like, I don't honestly. My best races is when I do it when I'm in a rush, like when I'm forgetting. So I was in New York skiing that weekend when I like did really good and it jumped me. It rocketed me to the top of the leaderboards. I was on a ski lift freezing. I could barely tap my phone screen, and I couldn't even play because I was in New York. And so then I was texting my picks to my buddy Adam here in Florida. I gave him my login and everything. For some reason, I thought it was a triple crown, so I'm like picking the only like top 20 guys, right? And I like fell asleep during the main, woke up the next morning, and I saw I did really good, so I texted the group chat and was like, hey, I don't have service. Can you guys look up the scores? Just so they could send me that I won. And I didn't realize I was in the like second overall. So then they sent me that screenshot, and I was like, I don't know what league that is, like that's in, but that's pretty cool. And they're like, yeah, that's the overall league. And I was like, dang, that's sick. But then now I'm like in like probably 1,000. So anyways, let's get on to wild board because I'm gonna go on a rant. I'm gonna be like Alex Luger, just talking away, you know. Shout out Luger. But yeah, let's get on with the weekend.
Yeah.
No one cares about my PulpMX experience.
Well, so it's funny you say that because this was one of those rounds where I was at Daytona, so had to film an interview that you're going to see at the end of this show Saturday morning, and as soon as we were done with that, had to go to Daytona. So then it was like almost time for the night show, and I hadn't put in my picks yet. So same thing, I was like in a rush, just like clicking names, and I was like, dang, like this is gonna suck, and then ended up doing the best I've done this year. So it's funny how it works out that way.
Yeah, it'll catch you off guard. I always try to strategically place my things. I send them to Truman. He's like, I don't think that guy is hurt, and I like change it, and then I end up sucking. So now I'm just like, I just pick whoever I think I like I really like, and then they end up doing good.
Yeah. So the Triple Crown, when I got third overall, I basically just took the list of the entries, so like everyone that made the night show, and just picked the highest handicaps of everyone that was in there, and ended up working out. I shouldn't give away my
That's
strategy
amazing.
live on air, but
That's amazing.
and then in Rocky Mountain Fantasy, good time to throw this plug in. So the Rocky Mountain one is actually pretty crazy. I finished 16th overall one year, but had I not changed my picks at the last minute, I would have finished 6th overall and got like every tool that Motion Pro makes, and I still get mad about that. I have the screenshots. It did happen. But
You know what's crazy?
what?
I got every Motion Pro tool they make too because they're an awesome company.
There you go.
So I
Shout
didn't
out.
have to win a prize pack. All I did was I just won at life, and they just sent me a pick care package, and
Hey.
I'm very grateful for that.
Motion Pro, if you're listening.
Hey, and I'm sitting in a Motion Pro chair right now.
Look at that.
Can't beat it. You can't beat them.
See, it's like we planned it. But no, so I put out one story of my Rocky Mountain Fantasy group. I got a Pulp group, and then I got a Rocky Mountain group. I put out one story. There's 83 people in it, which I can't believe that so many people join it, but it's kind of cool to see. I was trying to pull it up on my phone, but I can't get it to pull up because I did have in my notes to shout out whoever's leading it. I'm doing awful in it. But this is a good time to mention that we have a brand new sponsor of On the Pipe podcast, and it is Rocky Mountain ATV MC, the #1 source to get everything that you need. You can find it right online, get it shipped to you fast. And there is actually a link in the description of this YouTube video. So if you click the description, there's a link right at the top. You can just click that link. Once you click it, you go on there, you shop, you get whatever you want to do, your normal stuff, and we just get a commission from that. So it helps the show. It doesn't raise the price of anything for you. You just shop like you normally do, buy like you normally do. And, yeah, it's just a way to support the show and support what we're doing and help support the riders like Lyndon Snodgrass, who we'll talk about here in just a couple of minutes. But to your point, Jesse, I wanted to dive into some of your career that you're doing now, but we'll get to the results, and then we'll see where the conversation takes us after that. But shout out, Rocky Mountain. Let me see. We're going to start out west, and this is a new segment we're calling Digging Up the Results. With Demmer's precision grading.
Digging up the results, and you never even told me we're going West Coast.
So here's the thing. Spoiler alert. I don't know anything that happens out there. So mainly just read through the results. So you really don't have to be informed on what's going on.
Okay. All right.
I will say they did start doing a live stream, and it looks very GNCC. Like it is a lot like the GNCC broadcast. So I actually watched a good bit of it today to see what was going on. My buddy Mark Tilley with Dirt Bike Magazine, he's one of the announcers on there too, so got to see him in action. But yeah, it's pretty cool. They got drones, but they don't have trees, so you can like see dirt bikes.
Yeah. Well, I know Ian was filming like that little sorry. I just got a funny text I came across and I couldn't help but look. But Ian was filming like the National Hare and Hounds, maybe.
Yeah.
and oh man, the drone footage is absolutely sick. Like
Yeah.
it is sick.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine like a broadcast because you can actually see like who it is and the passes and
Well,
uh
so they were at Glen Helen this past weekend too. So like once you go up the hill, they like ride the ridge line across the mountains. So the drone was like following them across the ridge line with like all the desert in the back. It looked pretty sick.
so who ended up winning? Because I really don't know. Obviously we had a race of our own, so
So taking the win was none other than, you guessed it, Tyler Lynn. He he won the overall on a Honda. Giacomo Redondi finished in the number 2 spot. Mateo Oliveira would round out the top 3 riders. Dante coming up in the number 4 spot. So not sure if there was troubles for the number 1 of Dante Oliveira, but he did finish in the 4th place spot overall. And then 7th place overall, first in Pro 2 is reigning, defending NGPC champion, and a guy that we know fairly well, Mason Simmons, who was over here racing for a couple years, found a job out west, went out there and just won the championship and everything he went to out on the West Coast, and so he stayed. And he continues his winning ways out there now. Obviously, the native Australian, used to the desert, and now he is holding it wicked out west and took the win once again. Samuel Pretschar in the number 2 spot in Pro 2, and Cole Zeller rounds out the top 3 overall riders in the Pro 2 class. And then lastly, we'll check in with the Pro women. Michaela Nielsen took the win, Ava Silvestri in 2nd, and Madison Weber in the 3rd place spot. So that is the round number 3, NGPC.
I had to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I just kept getting a bunch of texts.
What was the text that had you laughing so hard?
Someone's watching live and they're trying to make me laugh.
Oh, well,
It's working.
Congratulations. You got him.
No, but no, yeah, like you said, Mason is killing it out there in the Pro 2 class. And I think, yeah, he went out there and he did really good at first. And then that confidence, like, I mean, immediately he's like a really good rider. So all he needed was the confidence. And when he came here, I think his first couple rounds, like he had a bunch of issues. And then just like anybody else, and myself included, like as soon as you have a little bit of issues and your results aren't good and your confidence is down, it's like 10 times harder to get out of the hole. And like it's hard to get out of the rut. So like when he went out there, he did really good. He had a like instant success pretty much, and then he's been running with it. So like it's really cool to see him out there doing it still stateside. And then as far as the Pro 1 guys, yeah, I mean, obviously the Oliveira brothers, I mean, they're household names, Factory KTM. I feel like a lot of us know, like the East Coast guys know who they are. A little shocked to me that Dante got 4th. Obviously, I don't know what happened at all. So normally when you see Dante off the podium, especially out west, you're kind of like, okay, something happened. So not saying that's a bad thing. Like obviously, like he's super dominant out there. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he's probably not too pumped that his little brother got him this weekend. But I really can't speak too much because I like I said, I don't know the circumstances. I don't know where they were even racing. So we kind of had a race of our own over here, and that kind of takes up a lot of the weekend. And
Yeah.
then between my videos and trying to tune into all the raw highlight videos, because there's like 5 of them now of our series, time's
really?
pretty busy.
I wonder,
Yeah.
how did that whole thing start?
I think that Sawyer guy came over and then got a bunch of views, and then everyone decided to jump on the bandwagon.
First of all, I put my videos out before he came over. But that is a point of contention because
Oh man.
see, this is
I love
something
it.
this is something that like in my heart I want to bring up, but I've avoided for quite some time, Jesse, and then you come out swinging and got to get me riled up on my own program.
Oh, hey man, you can't be mad about it. Listen, you know how many people are doing vlogs now? And to me it's good because it keeps you honest. If you want to be and just like anybody else, if like you can't be mad that someone like if you have a team green ride and someone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go talk to Ryan Holiday." That's
Yeah.
fine. Like that's really cool because that makes me want to be better. That way, like I'm not gonna be, "Oh, don't go talk to him." Like go and talk to him because that's gonna it's going to make me want to be better. That's going to make me want to do better than you. Same thing with the videos. It's like I want to make sure at Big Buck, I did the vlog or whatever. I got really slam busy, procrastinated a little bit, didn't upload it till Thursday. Well, everyone and their brother decided to do vlogs at Big Buck
Yeah.
and posted them Monday, Tuesday. And so mine was on the back burner and I didn't really get that many views. And so now I'm like, okay, we get home Monday or Sunday night and I'm like, all right, vlog is like, I'm going to stay up Monday night and do it, because if I wait any longer, I'm not going to get the views. So it's kind of the same way thing with you guys. Like if, you know, you got a bunch, it's going to keep you guys honest, because, you know, someone's going to need to elevate it to get the better views. Obviously, everyone's kind of posting at the same time as far as raw highlights. So it's like better thumbnails, better race content, maybe some better interviews, like interviewing different people. So I think it's good. I think it's great that people are doing the raw highlights. I think it's great that everyone's doing the vlogs, because it makes the level of entertainment for the fans that much better.
Yeah.
Because the big dog's going to come out on top of it. You know what I mean? Like the big dog is going to find a way to make his stuff better, get it out there faster, make it more appealing to the fans. And so it just elevates everybody.
Here's the thing. It's bittersweet for me because, one, dude, OTP is, I hate giving myself credit for anything, but we're the biggest media outlet now in the sport. We've been around the longest. There's been a lot of people that come and a lot of people that go, and we're still here. And my goal from the beginning of this thing, which I haven't been shy about, and I say all the time, is that my whole goal is to grow the sport. Like, I don't care about – I've been operating at a loss doing this for almost 10 years now. And my whole goal was to shine a brighter light onto off-road, to bring more eyeballs to off-road, to bring more coverage to off-road, and kind of get the coverage and the recognition that Supercross and motocross gets, but doing it off-road. So it is nice that, and I was actually just talking to somebody about this the other day. When I started, there was nothing. Like, I was the only photographer out there for the most part, besides Ken Hill. And then when I switched to videos, really the only one doing consistent videos. And now it's like there's more media in the sport than there's ever been, which is great.
What are you talking about? There was Caleb Russell's driven to win in like 2012, 2013. You had
That was
digital
like 6
off-road with
episodes.
Hoop.
Yeah, and
Brother,
then Hoop
brother.
was done.
Hoop was done. He said, I'm out of this. Started at full gas.
Yeah.
I did my videos in 2015. Like, you can't say you're the originator.
No, I'm saying that that's not what I meant by it. But what I'm saying is, like, trying to cover the sport. Well, how did you twist what I was saying? I didn't say I was the originator. I was saying, like, at the time,
I'm just giving the people what they want.
back in the Shep Shots days, there was nobody else covering the races consistently at that time, is all I'm saying. And then what I was...
Yes, at that period of year, yes.
Yeah.
Like in 2017, 2018, yes, I agree. I 100% agree.
It was like 2016, but anyway.
2016.
So, but the raw videos is like, to be honest with you, man, that started for me because I'm not good at editing, like straight up. I can edit stuff and put it together, but like I can't do it like Ian Howes. I regularly refer to as the most talented video editor in the sport. Like, he does some crazy stuff. I can never do that. And so I was like, what can I do? I can slap together raw clips and put it out. And then they started to take off and catch some traction. And then last year, you kind of know the inside story about what happened, where I worked and negotiated a deal for several months, and then it got undercut from me on the way to the starting line at Big Buck, where another raw highlight video started going out that kind of stunk. And so then eventually halfway through the season, they are literally a direct copy of like this whole format that I do. So it is what it is. But yeah, now like Racer TV is doing it this year. There's Digital Off-Road got bought by Rob Mitchell. Now he's going out there and doing them. So it is cool. But at the same time, like, you got to find a way to differentiate yourself, in my opinion. But either way, we're getting more coverage on the tube and everywhere else.
Listen, more coverage, the more people that win, it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. Taylor,
I don't
agree.
see anyone out here doing podcasts, so that you got that going for you. Now, anyone else? Listen, I've thought about it. I was like, no, I don't want to start one because it's too much work, and I'm gonna leave that to you. But the day I retire, I'm going after the raw highlight videos.
Come on with it.
I'm
No,
joking. I'm joking.
yeah. I never wanted to say the thing that I just said on the podcast, but now it got out of me. But hey, you know what? Trying to let
Do you?
bygones be bygone and go and get the hell on and try
I
to
bet you
move
feel a
on
lot
life.
better. You bet you feel better, and I'm giving the people what they
Nah.
want.
When I say things like this, it makes me want to immediately delete the show. But
No, you're
no,
good. We're not going over the line, but we do need to talk about the Florida GNCC.
we do.
We got we got some good racing, some bad racing. We got some Jeff Russell kind of pissed on the starting line situations. We have people swamping their bikes like literally 5 minutes into the race situations. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened at Florida GNCC.
I saw that on your vlog. So let's do it. Let's dig up the results. Let's start there. We're digging them up courtesy of Dimmer's Precision Grading. See, I'm trying to figure out some segments so that way I don't have to read them all in one breath at the beginning of the show. You know what I mean? So
I like it. Hey, sponsorship money, you got to get it.
trying to split it up. So Dimmer's Precision Grading, you guys know about them. You heard about them. They are the Carolinas' premier grading services, projects big or small, commercial, what have you. Hit up Dimmer's Precision Grading. You can find them on social media, Dimmer's Precision Grading or dimmersprecisiongrading.com. Whether you need land clearing, grading, whatever you need done, they can do it. They can haul dirt, they can move earth. But they're going to help us dig up some results this past weekend. Taking the overall win is the guy with the number 1 plate on the front of his bike, Johnny Gerard, went out there and got it done, but it did not come easy. It was a battle to the wire, I would say. They were close. Caleb Russell would end up in the number 2 spot, and Ben Kelly would round out the overall podium in 3rd. So Johnny Gerard did not score any overall points at the first round, comes out, wins at the second round. That puts him 3rd place in the points for the XC1 class. So just goes to show how important winning is. And that's one of our topics of discussion we'll get to here in a minute. But, yeah, Johnny taking the win, Caleb in the number 2 spot. They swapped the lead back and forth a good bit throughout the day, and then Ben Kelly holding strong in the number 3 spot. 4th place overall was your XC2 winner, Grant Davis, the reigning defending XC2 champion. His teammate, Gus Reardon, would finish in the number 2 spot in XC2. And rounding out the podium was Cody Barnes, who put on a good ride of his own. And we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second because the guy that is on the program with us tonight was in the hunt for that podium position. In the XC3 class, Jesse, are you a 2-time, 3-time XC3 champion? 3-time, right?
2-time.
2-time?
2 for 2 when I moved out.
Oh, I thought it was 3. Anyway, 2-time.
2 years too long. Clearly, I mean, I did really good on 125s, but it did not translate to XC2 by any means.
150A title, 2 XC2 titles.
I'm just a
XC3.
125 guy.
But yeah, James Jenkins goes out there, takes the win on a Yamaha Blue Crew, baby. Luke Brown in the number 2 spot, and Rayleigh Messer would round out your overall top 3 for the XC3 class, and totally skipped over our top amateur, so we'll go back to it. It was it JoJo?
JoJo?
Oh, I thought
And Gavin Simon's second. No,
Yep.
JoJo, 2 for 2.
JoJo, 2 for 2. His 19th year in the 250A class. No, I'm just kidding. No, JoJo's super cool. But yeah, he goes out there, he gets the win, 250A, 16th place overall. Gavin Simon in the number 2 spot, and then Lane Whitmer would round out the overall top amateur podium for the day. And then in the morning race, it was Brandy Richards getting the best of the WXC class, taking the win out there. Taylor Jones would finish in the number 2 spot. I think it's safe to say TMFJ is back, and she's on a mission. And Corey Steed would round out the overall podium just ahead of Rachel Archer. So I think that was a battle for that final podium position, but Corey Steed was able to hold on to it and grab the win. And Alex Luger would take 3rd place overall.
Wow.
Winner of the Sportsman A class. But got beat by
Third
Brandy and
place
Taylor.
overall. I mean, they're nothing to sneeze at, to be honest.
No.
They're nothing to sneeze at. But back on the JoJo topic, because I'm gonna put you in the hot seat this episode.
Jesse, I'm starting to rethink this whole entire episode.
All right, listen.
Why
listen.
are you stirring the pot?
How much money, average, like, I mean, just a guesstimation, how much money you think JoJo's making, whether it's his first year in 250A or his fifth year or sixth year in 250A, how much money do you think he makes?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm never gonna pry it out of you, but however much money he's making, he's not gonna make that in XC2.
Yeah.
So you can't blame him for just staying back there. If Phoenix is gonna give him a ride for 250A, he's gonna take it. He's gonna win all the Pro-Am races at Sprint Enduros and get the good contingency money or however he has that with Phoenix. He's gonna get paid. He's gonna win races. He's gonna put the money in the bank. Probably buy some mini bikes or whatever he's doing up in Ohio. And that he's just going to do it until he is absolutely forced to move up to XC2. I mean,
it goes back to the whole age-old thing. Like we talked about this or we talked about on the show in the past with guys that are making, or like the XC2 guys moving up to XC1. It's like, why would you move up if you're making a good living staying down? And then it's the same thing with JoJo. And if I could be mistaken, but I believe I remember him saying that he wanted to ride XC2, and they actually wanted him in 250 A class. So I don't even know if him riding A class again is a decision on his own. But JoJo's a cool guy, likes to joke around a little bit. So I just like to poke the bear a little bit with that. But
I don't want him attacking me, so I'm okay with it. I'm not saying that just because I don't want him attacking me, but it's like Phoenix has and like obviously, not that I'm actively looking for a ride, but like, I just know what these teams want, and they're not. Phoenix does not want two XC2 guys. Yamaha doesn't want XC2 guys anyways. A lot of these teams don't want two XC2 guys. So, I'm sure they're like, Fred Andrews and all them, they're like, yeah, we want JoJo, but all right, stay down 250A. Figure it out. Maybe Cody goes to XC1 next year or whatever. I don't know those whole details, but I can understand why he's doing that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And just so the fans know that too, because I'm sure the fans don't know that. Obviously, it never gets talked about. But yeah, that's just kind of how it works. Is they have their guys. Their guys are going to stay down or they're going to stay up or whatever. And then unless someone switches brands or someone gets dropped, and then they can, relocate some funds or whatever the case is, that's just how it works. I mean, and when you're at the mercy of JoJo wanting a ride, you just got to do what they say. I mean, that's kind of what KTM did to me in 2019. It's like, listen, you're going to get paid decently, not a salary, but you're going to get paid decently in bonuses. Stay back in XC3, collect win bonuses, run the number one. It holds way more value than you going to XC2. So it's like, all right,
yeah,
another year in 125s.
And JoJo rode for Babbitt's Cowie, and now Fred Andrews, who was over at Babbitt's Cowie, and Joey, they're over at the Phoenix crew now. So like they know JoJo, they know how he operates, they know he's a competitor, they know how good he is, and kind of brought him along with him over there. But I mean, to your point, if you can make, and I don't know what the figures are, so that's why I don't want to throw them out, but if you can make X amount of dollars more to race A class versus moving to XC2, then by all means, like, I understand. But at the same time, like when you come out the first round and you get 5th place overall in the A class, it turns into one of those things like, hey, you don't have a long time as a pro athlete or an athlete at the top level, so you got to make all the money that you can. But at the same time, like, JoJo could be in the mix in XC2 if he wanted to be.
There was not one result in Big Buck that actually has any legitimacy to it, if we're being fair. I mean, look at Caleb. He got 14th overall. Whether I don't know if he had issues or whatever. I know he has some knee issues or whatever right now. But like, look at him in Florida. Same thing with DeFeo. Like, he absolutely crushed it at Big Buck, and there's no doubt about it. He literally won the overall by like 3 or 4 minutes. But then he had a little bit of issues at Florida with a front brake swap. But when if you look at his lap times, they're not like crazy better than anybody's. like it was a big buck. So big buck, like that's such a oddball race that you can't say like, oh, JoJo got fifth overall. He needs to be in a pro class. Like I think what did he get overall this weekend, 17th or 18th?
I think it was 16th. Is that what it said?
16th. Okay.
Oh, that's
So I
the
mean,
one.
yeah, I mean that's last year. DeFeo and Tino, they were in 16. DeFeo was like 10th some races. So
Yeah, just outside the top 5. But JoJo's also been in the top 10, top 15 quite a bit. And he won overall amateur in what, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021,
I'm not good with stats. So
2022,
you're
22. If I say them
I,
all, I get it right eventually. But I'm pretty sure he has won the top am overall, right?
yeah, but he's also broken his femur 3 times right before the season too.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
like a Jordan Smith effect.
trust me, I know. He did his femur, and then I compounded my tib fib, and then I rebroke my tib fib, and he rebroke his femur, and both of our incidents were within like a week of each other. But like I said, I'm not taking anything away from JoJo. Like I said, just kind of messing because I don't know. It's one of those things where he has the speed, he has the ability, but he is making a hefty paycheck, and like you said, coming through all those injuries and battling back, like he could be right where he needs to be to get back on track and get back on that pace for XC2. That trajectory,
Okay,
not pace.
So since you work for Stu Baylor, we want to know about his results because there's obviously something wrong with the bike.
All right, everybody, that was Jesse Ansley. Thanks for joining. Thanks for coming on the show. No, I mean, Stu is a polarizing person in this sport, and so obviously he has a lot of eyeballs, especially like the team success and stuff he has going on. But at this point, like that GNCC title is the one title that has eluded him. It's the one that he's dropped the national enduro stuff. Well, obviously not dropped it because he's a 6-time champion or whatever, but he's made mention that he focused his effort on GNCC. Like that's the title that he wants. And coming into this weekend, going into Talladega, I was trying to look for him in the overall points. But yeah, back to back, not great rounds. So I mean, you being an XC2 guy and being a pro rider too, like seeing his results and seeing where he's at, like, is it time to hit the panic button or is it time to get things underway? And to that point, like, it's a weird thing for me because I think everyone knows what my sources on any information related to him would be. So it puts me in a position of what to say and what not to say. But to your point, there has been a couple of issues, and I believe that now it is on track to get those issues solved because it's not like he's done bad. Like both races, he's been up front. He's rode really good races, but both races ended up having issues.
Right. Well, I don't have any good sources. I'm just on the outside looking in. And like obviously Stu from the outside, and obviously I do know some of his situation and stuff. It's like he is so slammed busy with everything. Like he is running around like crazy.
Yeah.
And I know kind of firsthand how that is. Obviously, I don't run a team. I run my own little team. And that's hectic on its own. Now he does have Ryan Sipes, and he has I think Blake now is taking a different role, maybe helping manage a little bit or something. But like he does have different guys, mechanics, but you have to manage all those guys, right? And he's on the phone talking to sponsors, testing product. He's doing all this stuff, and I think sometimes you can get wrapped up in that, and then you can't focus all of your effort on race day, which is like hard to say, right? Because I've been in that same situation where I'm like building a bike at midnight, and then I drive all day to the race, and I get to the race, I'm so tired, and I do poor, and it's like, oh man, I try again next weekend, and it's like I just bury myself for no reason. And I'm not saying Stu's doing that, obviously. I don't know Stu that well, and I don't know him like that. But from the outside looking in, it's like, man, he is doing so much. And I think he does it because he has a big heart, right? He wants to see everyone in that tent do really good, and he wants to do good himself. He wants to make sure he wants to make sure his mechanics are getting paid, Ryan's getting paid. Like he wants to make sure the team's successful enough where everything is going, round and round. But like, yeah, I'm sure he's got a lot of stuff to juggle. And when you're trying to go to those GNCCs and you're trying to focus fully on yourself, he has a lot on his plate. And the results for me, I kind of understand that side of things where like I know it's bike related, so it's like I wouldn't push the panic button. They're obviously really smart and they're gonna figure it out. Um, I know Stu's really hard on a bike, and I know the Cowies do run hot as it is. And I think they're having issues with that, but they have some of the, I mean, they're the factory Kawasaki off-road team right now, so they're going to figure it out. It's just when are they going to figure it out? No one really knows. I don't know if they made big strides between Big Buck and Florida. I know they were testing some things. But I mean, the 250 program, besides DeFeo's front brake situation, I mean, the 250 program is working out pretty good for them. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I can't imagine being in Stu's shoes. Team owner, the sponsorship guy. I mean, it's crazy. He's building tracks, he's building shops, he's building house, he's doing so national enduro stuff. Like it's insane the stuff that he does. I don't know how he sleeps at night, and I don't think the fans and I don't think a lot of the racers kind of like appreciate what he does because like at the end of the day, no one is going to remember what Stu did at Big Buck or at Florida. They're going to remember that he like was doing all this stuff. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't push the panic button just yet. I mean, um, yeah, if in his eyes, I think, and like I said, I can't I can't say this enough. I don't know Stu, like I can't say it on his behalf, but I feel like if he can't win, he would rather see his team win as well. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, if he has a crap race, well, the next best thing is DeFeo and Toth, and they better be having a good race so that the whole team wins.
Yeah. And that is the interesting part of it, and that's something that I've also talked about on the show quite a bit with like all the hats that he has to wear because until this year it has all been on him. And last year was an uncharacteristic year for Stu as far as the Stu that we typically see. And that could have been part of it. Like there's a lot of directions going, especially I think there's 9 people under the tent, 8 people. There's 5 pros, 6 pros. So it's not like he's just
I mean,
running
Stu's
like
gonna do it big.
yeah. It's not
Stu's
like he's
definitely
just
gonna do it big.
it's not like running a small team. Like that's a big team. That's a premier team, and I know that's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially as a team owner. But Stu's also been very vocal about not wanting to stick around for forever. Like I don't think that Stu's going to be racing in 10 years. I don't know if Stu's going to be racing in 3 years. And so the whole team thing is also kind of maybe it's his escape plan and building that up so that way it's an easy transition after racing to still have the team afterwards. But so like for this past weekend, it ended up being a freak thing. He actually broke his handlebar. And so every time he pulled up, the bar just flopped up. And so you obviously know how tough that would be to ride Florida without one side of your handlebars. So it's
Yeah, there was only like 5 whoops out there. That'd been tough.
yeah. Yeah, but he came out. He won Sumter. He was running good at Big Buck, and kind of like you mentioned, I think it's truly an interesting situation that I saw him in because he is a competitor, and obviously he cares about his results. He cares about this championship, and that is the big carrot that he's been chasing is he wants to be a GNCC champion. And so it was interesting to see like the bike come up short in that situation and kind of take away his results at round 1, at least like substantial results, top 5, top 3, whatever. But then still like be happy for the success that the team had with Rachel winning, Caleb winning, their B-class rider winning, Nick DeFeo winning the overall, Toth in second. Like that's got to be an interesting dynamic when the race doesn't go your way as a competitor, but couldn't have really gone much better as a team owner.
Yeah, I'm sure it's weird, but if there's anyone that can do it, it's definitely Stu. Um, obviously there's a lot of stuff that I don't really agree with what Stu has going, and I really don't think he expects anyone to agree with what he has not going, but like what he says and what he does sometimes. But
Yeah.
Like if it's one person on that pro row that you'd want to be like a part of, as far as like you want them on your good side or their good side, is Stu, because he will go through hell and high waters to make sure. Like I'm sure that when they went to test, they had 10 different set of handlebars and seats and tires and all this extensive stuff because he wants the absolute best. Where
Yeah.
like some of these guys, I mean, I talked to a couple of managers like years ago when I was on XC3. I was like, smart enough to, ask the questions of how's the part situation? Like if I sign, like what do I get? And it was like, oh, you get a set of handlebars, just tell us what kind of handlebars you want and we'll make sure you have at least one spare and stuff. And I don't think Stu rolls like that. So, uh, yeah, uh, I'm sure it's a weird transition, but like I said, he's just full steam ahead, man. He just hits the ground running, and he's got
Dude,
the team, he's got the series, he's got a lot of stuff going on.
he'll be
He's got
changing.
you.
Hey, that's not a very big part of it, but hey, I just got a notification on my phone. Our video that I just posted the other day is at 140 million views, 650,000 likes. So we got.
How much did that cost you?
What do you mean?
I'm just joking with you.
How much did it cost me?
I'm messing with you.
Oh,
I'm messing with you.
so that dude. Funny thing, I've never paid for an ad or what's it called when you like pay to get them to show it to people. I've never done
Like
that.
a promotion thing or something?
Yeah, yeah,
Or follow? I don't know. I've never done it myself, but
yeah. Never used a
ah,
hashtag and never paid for an ad. It's just weird, man. Some stuff just goes. But um but like he'll literally like be changing tires like race day morning, or like changing suspension race day morning. So it's like also that the experience that he has, he's not afraid to like kind of change up the program and change what he's doing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but kind of like you mentioned, like if there's a person that'll figure it out, I think he'll figure it out.
well, speaking of Stu and figuring it out, I mean, obviously there was a scandal of him getting protested or talked to or something this weekend about something with cycling the track on Friday or something. I heard a couple rumors around the pits. Just kind of odd. I don't know if you know anything about that. The only thing I know is another team protested or maybe went and hinted that he was doing it or something. I don't know exactly how that all went down, but they like were speculating that he was doing something with no proof or something. And it's so odd to me, but I'm anxious to kind of, you know, hear the truth or like what's going on. Because this weekend was like full of like cheating scandals and protesting this guy and protesting this guy. Like it's already a mess. Uh,
There was a
you
lot of
got
drama.
yeah, you got the Stu situation on Friday, which I didn't know about until Sunday. Then you had the situation with JR and the yellow and the pink ribbons, which is we've seen them for years. I've never thought anything of them. Obviously, when I see a water bottle on a tree, you kind of realize like, okay, someone's marking like to turn left or right, which to me personally, I don't have enough time and energy to try to do that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like that's why I'm good at national enduros because I can read trail pretty quick and I can make quick decisions on the trail. And so honestly, when I see those water bottles, I just move them to the next tree down or I just take them off in general, just because I really could care less. But back on the pink ribbon thing, and if for the obviously for the fans that weren't there at Riders meeting, Jeff Russell was really heated, um, and held a pink ribbon and said, "Listen, we found this on the track. It's unacceptable. We don't know who's doing it. Obviously, they don't know who's doing it.
That was
And I
on the
don't think
start
anyone."
line that he brought this up.
Yeah, right on the starting line. I think after Ryan Eccles talked about the track. Um, so like everyone was paying attention, obviously, bikes were off and everything. They made it clear that they were not very happy. And the only thing that I can think of, like the only thing that I can speculate is that it's not us. Like it's not any of the pro riders. Um, I really don't see why. I mean, I don't see why anyone would do it, but I really don't see why a pro would ride around with pink ribbon in their fanny pack or in their pockets to do that. Like we're all pretty smart as far as like trail reading. We know like, okay, after this log turn left or something like that. Um so I really think it's like an A rider or a B rider. Someone that's going to be out there that's doing that, and when we roll past, we're never even going to think twice of when we pass them off 50 yards from the trail. Um, it sucks because you never know, and like, and honestly, there's been situations where a B rider or an A rider makes a line, and then it becomes like the main line, and then you go to take it, and then you get halfway through the trail, and you realize, whoa, this is really far off, and I can only imagine like a heated battle or something, someone takes a different line or whatever, and that's what sucks, and I think that's what they're trying to prevent. Um, but yeah, we had that, and then we had Lyndon getting docked because he didn't go to the right pits, and then we had Caleb and Johnny's situation. Like it was like a drama fest. It was crazy.
A lot
I
of
mean,
storylines. And so we were kind of talking off air about this before we started, but I don't know if Lyndon got docked or not. Like after the race, he told me that he did or that he was, and then he was going to talk to him about it. And dude, shout out Underfoot. So there's this dude named Underfoot that happened to discover the podcast and the show a couple weeks ago and started giving us
okay.
money in the chat, and it was the coolest thing
Nice.
ever. Didn't know you could do that. And then Walker,
So this goes 50-50 split or something?
something like that. Depends on how many more times you throw me under the bus. No, Walker Taylor said you don't have to, when you were bringing up the views, he said you don't have to pay for views. Underfoot made you rich. Well, Underfoot just gave us more money and said, someone said Underfoot.
Nice.
So he's
I love it.
He's my favorite person. But no, going back to that point, it seems like some of those things were intertwined. And Caleb, you mentioned his video or his post that he put up, and he tagged Timmy and he tagged Auntie and said, hey, maybe you guys want to have a talk about integrity in the same way that you wanted to have a talk with Stu this past weekend. You know what I mean? Something to that effect. And
Yeah, which I was confused on. I had no idea.
me too.
And I'm not nosy. I'm not really nosy. I really don't care to text Caleb and say, what was that about? I'm sure someone's going to get the story or whatever. But that kind of caught me off guard. And then someone brought it up to me and I was like, oh yeah. And then we were talking about the section. I went to pull it back up and I saw it was gone. And I was like, that's so weird that it's gone. So it was just, that whole thing was like, well, I don't
What, that
know.
the post
It
was gone?
Yeah, the story was gone.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what he was talking about because it was clear that they didn't want you going up there, but the ribbon wasn't down, and that stuff happens all the time, and it's frustrating because it's like you can tell that they put stuff in the track where they don't want you to go, and then someone will go through and like ride through it on their bicycles, or they'll stack like 50 logs in this creek so they can ride across it, and it's like, first off, who has the time to do this?
Yeah.
Because when I'm cycling the track, not that I'm in a rush, but like I'm cycling the track, I want to ride, look at what I'm going to race, and go back. I mean, these guys will literally spend like 5 hours on these tracks, like picking apart every turn. Oh, if we jump this berm over here, and if we go left at this, and let's break this branch halfway so we can sneak through it. It's like, I don't get that part.
Yeah.
Ride the track, just go fast. So I think that's kind of like his point of like, why do we have to cut through? And I don't think it was like a crazy cut line by any means. I mean, you can clearly tell they didn't want you to go there, but the ribbon wasn't. He was going rightfully in Johnny's defense. He was going around the ribbon. Like if they really wanted us to go down there, they should have extended the ribbon down. And that's, I mean, it's tough the way you look at it because I agree with Johnny taking the line, but I also agree with what Caleb's saying, right? It's like,
so let me ask this, just because as a pro rider, and kind of talked to you about this before too, but like it gets kind of weird doing these shows with other pro riders because like they're your peers, your competitors, you're all competing for the same thing. But like as a pro rider, and you saying that you agree with Johnny's side of that, and first of all, like, I consider Johnny a buddy of mine. Like I talk to him at every round. Really like him. He was kind of my champion pick the last several years. So when he won it last year, I was like Thanks for finally them pulling through for me. No.
It's hard to bet against Johnny.
Yeah.
It's hard to bet against him.
When he's good, man. He's got the speed. But though, to play devil's advocate, just for shits and giggles and what we're doing here on the show, that is a spot that is going to be high traffic. Is right off of that main road back in the woods I was talking about, riding my bike down. It's easy to get to. It is the FMF PowerPoint that's marked with all the FMF banners. You know a Racer TV camera's there, and you know there's going to be a bunch of other photographers and people there. So in that situation, this wasn't one of those situations where it's like a beat-in line towards the end of the race that everyone is taking. The clip that Caleb posted was from the very first lap. So nobody had been through that section yet, and he goes inside of it and up and over. And kind of going back to the post, basically talking around and trying to figure out, read between the lines, what was going on. It seems like the Stu protest on Friday, because for those that don't know, you guys aren't allowed to ride your bikes in the woods on Friday. You can't get in the woods until Saturday. And so I think that the integrity part of Stu was from that, was basically accusing him, someone somewhere accusing him of riding the track on Friday, which is before he would be allowed to do it. But then back to the Johnny thing, it's one of those gray areas because in the rules it says marked course, like marked grass track or motocross tracks, you must stay within the confines of it. So like you said, there wasn't banner, there wasn't double arrow, there wasn't the placards, there wasn't twine, but it was a Doze section.
Oh, there was twine. There was twine.
There was twine?
Yeah, there was twine, but that was the thing, is that's where it's tough, because in reality he didn't cut the track. Because there was twine, and the twine made a triangle, like pretty much like it made an acute triangle pretty much right there at that corner, and then they stacked dirt on kind of near that corner for you to go on the outside of the dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So then he went on the inside of the dirt, but on the outside, on the track side of the banner. So or the twine, sorry. So it's like. In reality, if you really want to get to like a straight answer, I personally think that it was whoever did that section, because they obviously they groomed it between Saturday and Sunday. It was the way they did it personally, because there is too much of a gray line.
But
like, I happy? I was not happy with the line personally. I didn't hit it until the third lap when it was like super beaten and it was way faster.
You weren't happy with the race line, you're saying?
I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy that there was just an inside line.
Gotcha. So
Like,
let me ask you
what I
this:
mean?
it was dozed, it was cleared out. That whole section was maintained before the pro race. So, like you said,
Correct.
that mound of dirt was part of the dozer tracks. So, would you think that if there are dozer tracks and a mound of dirt, that would be the confines of the race course in that area, even without a banner?
I mean, no, that's the thing, is that's where it's a gray area, right? I mean, if we're racing motocross, then it's like, where was the yellow, that big yellow plastic, board to keep you on the track, right? Because obviously motocross is a little bit different. So that's where it's a gray area. And that's where it is tough, because, and I'm not even like waffling, because I mean, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really matter if KR or Johnny doesn't like me or likes me or whatever. Like, I want to be on everyone's good side, but it's like I agree with why Caleb was upset with that line, but I also agree why Johnny thought it was okay, if that makes sense.
So, coincidentally, Caleb Russell just commented in the YouTube chat and said, "Show Jesse the rule book, please." And I
good, because I don't know the rules.
I said the
ahead.
gray area. I wish I could pull it up on the screen, but listen, this is a loose program. We're lucky enough that it's working like it is, so can't do that right now. But it says racers must remain on the marked course. The marked course is within 25 feet of race arrows. However, racers must stay within the confines of the following markers: double strike placards posted on both sides of the trail, ribbons, signs, stakes, hay bales, barrels, motocross track, grass track, etc. So then it kind of goes back to the same thought. Like, if that thing is dozed in a way that it was, would that kind of make it fall into that category of staying within the confines of a motocross track?
On that, yes, because they clearly dozed it, and that's where like they God, I hate waffling because it's like when I got to it, it was like pretty burned in, but I was already committed because personally I wasn't gonna take that line. I was already committed to drop down the hill to turn left,
Yeah.
so I took that first and second lap. Personally, I think Toth.
You
He
didn't
took
make
the
the
inside,
double,
and I
though.
went. I almost made the double in, like it was close, but Toth went inside one lap, and I went outside, and I actually caught him at the end of the straightaway, which I don't know if he was like fully committed like I was. I think I was on the first lap, so I was like, man, that line's so much faster, anyways. So then I did that second lap. Well, then come third lap, I mean, you literally jumped the little jump, went around the turn, and the rut went from the turn just led you straight to the inside. Like there was no choosing if you wanted to even go to the outside. So, but I understand what Caleb is saying of like, okay, like if it's a burned in line from an A and B rider, then that's one thing. And like I said, once you're in that rut and you just lead there, then it is what it is. But to like kind of go through it, ah, this podcasting thing is tough, man.
Yeah. I told you.
Because I agree. That's the problem is I agree with both things, and like the rule book obviously says the confines of the track, which the dozer mark is the confines of the track. But I mean, I would be lying to say if like in those fields, like after the start, we went down the fields and trackside, I mean, they dozed it where the trackside had like a berm.
Mm-hmm.
So like you had to stay, well, there was, I think the one lap, the first lap, I I was in the dust and I didn't even know there was a berm. Well, I was like on the other side. Actually, I was riding the dozer berm. So it's like, I mean, you could technically consider that cheating because I was on the other side of it. Probably it was definitely smoother. Um, so that's just like, you know what I mean?
That's what makes it a gray area. But let me ask you this. And like I said, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Someone told me a long time ago, I don't remember where I heard it. I wish I could give a proper quote for it. But a long time ago, like in high school or middle school, I heard that if you can't argue both sides of your point, then you don't deserve to have an opinion on that subject. And so I kind of approach everything that I do from that perspective. So I can for sure argue it both ways. But like I said, just from the other perspective, I just curious from your perspective, former XC3 champ, youth champ, 150A champ, all that fun stuff. Whether he was off the track, on the track, whether it's a gray area, whether there was a dozer thing, whether there was a banner, all that stuff aside, if you are the reigning defending overall champion with a number 1 on your plate and you're going through the FMF PowerPoint, which you know is televised, cutting off a corner like that, yes, it's a gray area. Yes, you could argue it's legal. Yes, you could argue it's illegal. But for the 10th of a second you save in that, is it really worth the risk of putting yourself in a situation like where we're talking about it right now, like where other competitors are posting stories of it? Well, I guess what I'm saying is there could be a lot of backlash from taking that line. And so with that big number 1 plate, like is that a risk worth taking?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, and as minute as it is, because it literally was like 5 feet, right? Maybe 10, because you did have to go down the hill and then turn like kind of on an off camber sand berm and then shoot back up, where this line was basically straight. So like it towards the end of the race, it definitely was an advantage. But like that's the stuff that happens out in the woods, and the 5 foot turns into 10 foot, and then it turns into 20 foot, and then it happens all through the track. And like there is so many times where there's so many lines that are you're just like, I can't believe this happened. I mean, there's been so many times where we'll be first lap riding in a pack, and just one XC2 guy will just hard on the brakes and then turn left. And you're like, where is he going? And he's like dropping over the bank to go on the outside of,
Getting ready
and
for
it's like,
Talladega left turns, baby.
yeah. But like that's where I see. I'm sure Johnny did it innocently. Obviously, like okay, I'm gonna go there, fast line, whatever. But like that's the stuff that I think they're trying to prevent is like how much is too much, right? If you're gonna let that slide, if you're gonna let that like, oh, that line's okay because it's whatever, well then they're gonna let a little bit more slide at the next situation, a little bit more slide at the next situation. And I mean, there was one year where like everyone was protesting everyone. That's when the placards came out or whatever, because like people were making lines around the placards and pointing them to people, and like it was crazy mayhem. And like I feel like we kind of got away from that a little bit. And then now I feel like we're going to start going back to that, you know. Pink ribbon, people are going to be watching everyone like a hawk, which like I said before, I don't think it's any of us pros. Same thing with the dozer marks. Like I'm not sure how Talladega's shaping up. I don't know what the situation is there, but like I guarantee you if they have dozer marks, they're everyone's going to be within those dozer marks. And so like it's good. It's obviously good. You want everyone to race fair. But yeah, it's just like I don't know. The whole thing is tough, and I see it both ways. Like I said, I could just ramble on about how I see it both ways, but that's really
Yeah. I guess and like I said, I'm huge fans of all of you guys. I'm huge fan of the sport. That's the only reason I'm here doing what I'm doing. But we've seen people lose positions, lose bonuses, lose money, lose points over going 25 feet and 4 inches off the track, like bringing the tape measure out and literally being a 4 to 6 to 8 inch gap difference off of 25 feet, and they get penalized. So it's one of those things where like it's a gray area on the track, and it's a gray area in the rules, and it's a gray area of how it's handled. So I guess at the end of the day, like just from my perspective and seeing it and seeing how much stir that it has caused, like just doing something like that in plain sight just isn't worth the risk of having to go through all this or have to answer for any of it. And because I mean, you're the second one through and the defending champion, and I don't know that's I guess my perspective on it.
yeah.
Could have been
No, I mean
avoided.
no, it definitely could have been avoided. Just stay on the track. But like I said, I really do think Johnny did it innocently. I don't think he was like, oh, I'm gonna take this line. It's on the edge. He was probably just like me. I don't know the rule of staying on, and that's my ignorance, right? That's bad for me to say that I don't know the rules. I mean, everyone on the pro line should know the rules. Um, but he probably is in the same situation as me. I didn't know that. And but that's not an excuse either, right? So you can't say, "Oh, I didn't know that the speed limit was 50 and I'm going 70."
Yeah.
You can't tell the cop that. They're gonna say, "Well, that sucks for you." So that's the same thing as like it's tough, man. The track, like I said, it was plain sight. The track's 14 miles, 14 miles long. You can't spot everybody and this and that, but like I think that's kind of that's part of off-road is like sometimes you just get bit. I mean, just like when Stu at Camp Coker, I think last year, and he took like an alternate line, same pine section. And again, I'm not very educated on this, so I don't know exactly how far it was, but it was a split line. Someone saw him, random spot in the woods, right? Someone saw him and videoed him or something. Boom, docked, right? So, and the same thing, like it's the same thing with Caleb at Powerline, like 2017 or 2018 or 20. I don't even know what year, but the whole rock garden was blown out, right? So naturally, you're just going to go out and then back in. Why would you ride through the wet rocks, right? And then he got so much hate afterwards. They didn't do anything, and then they're calling him the golden boy. It's like, no, so many people has gotten away with worse, and
Yeah.
people have gotten docked for even more and more petty stuff. But that's just how the off-road stuff works. Is like we don't have the Mike Pelletiers of, and I'm not saying that he does a great job. He does a job at Supercross. Okay, don't quote me, but we don't have those people there watching the footage or whatever or whatever and saying like I'm making this call. at least from my point of view. Like, perfect example, and I'm gonna ramble on about rules and stuff, but I started my bike early one race, turned it back off. That was a dumb idea, right? If you turn your bike on, you might as well leave it running and take back off. Everyone and everyone on pro row now kind of realizes like if your bike starts early, depending on how late it is, you might as well keep it running and take off with the class because you're only going to get docked 15 or 30 seconds or whatever it is.
But you
But
are getting stopped no matter what.
you're getting stopped no matter what, correct? But there's been plenty of times where, and I'm saying plenty of times, meaning like 4 or 5, 6 times that I've been next to someone that started their bike super early, doesn't get stopped. So that's just like,
Happened last year.
and I'm never gonna be one that says like, oh, he started his bike early, and it's like, whatever if he didn't get caught, which is different, right? Paychecks, wins, stuff like that. It's a little bit different when you have a crap race and you're like eighth, ninth place XC2. Like I'm not going to be that person that says, "Oh, he starts with bike early, he gets the whole shot, he has way more of an advantage or whatever." But like it just happens, and it sucks. Like I think, and it's getting maybe a little bit better, and I think maybe Caleb bringing up this thing with Johnny kind of takes the rules a little bit more serious because I think we do need to be taken a little bit more serious when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think it'll raise the level of the sport. It will raise the level of professionalism. Um, it's just like Supercross. You cannot be on the starting line unless you have a collared shirt. Now, do I want that to be a rule at GNCC? Absolutely not. Can you make that a rule for GNCC? I'm not even sure, but it's still like that's where I think a lot of people are like, you know, we want to be professional, but then it's like we kind of let that little stuff slide, like Johnny or whatever, and it's like, it's okay, and then it is what it is.
And so that's probably my biggest gripe or biggest thing that I would like to see changed is every time one of these situations comes up, you're like nitpicking what happened and nitpicking how it gets handled. And I would love to see a way where there are very clear set rules and very clear set consequences for those rules because too many times we see the same thing happen with two different outcomes. And I think that's the most frustrating part. And like from a racer's perspective, I would imagine that's got to be frustrating to you guys as well. Because like I said, one day, 1 week, one race, you got a rider going off the track and getting no penalty. The next week, you got a rider going off the track and losing a position. The next week, you got a rider going off the track and losing 2 positions. Or they've even done it before where you didn't lose in overall, like there was 2 6th place guys and 2 4th place guys. Like because you lost a position didn't mean the other person moved up. So they've just, there's been a lot of situations where things get handled differently. And this is one of those situations where in all likelihood, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to come down to it. And just reading through the lines of Caleb's post, to me, that came across as, hey, if you guys, the guys that he tagged and mentioned, if you guys are going to call other riders out for doing something that is not right and not in the gray area or question their integrity for doing something like that, then you should probably manage the people on your team that are also operating in that similar way. That's what I took the post as. Like, I think Caleb would probably be the first to tell you that line isn't the reason Johnny won the race. Like,
Right? Yeah, absolutely. No, Caleb would never say that, and
so I
even
think
if it was,
for,
Caleb would never say that.
It seemed, the way that I read it and the way it came across, it seemed like more of a you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house type situation. Like, hey, don't go nitpick everybody else if you're not going to enforce what your own riders are doing. That's just what it seemed like to me.
Well, that's why you gotta love Caleb. I mean, he's gonna speak his mind, and it's good because he has the credibility to. I mean, he can literally say, I mean, he can go up to anyone basically and just say, tell him how it is and walk away. I mean, you're not gonna argue with it like that.
And
He's right.
He's
like,
not going to be bashful about it either.
no, he's right though. He's worked for Timmy. He's worked for Auntie. I don't think he's worked for Timmy, but he's worked for Auntie, and he knows how that works. And I've been underneath the semi, as a satellite rider, and I've seen Caleb, even reprimand Auntie when Auntie was his boss. Like him saying, "Hey, you need to, get your guys, get you guys reel your stuff in." That's not out of the blue for me. Like I've seen it firsthand of Caleb telling Auntie how it is, but Caleb does it, and he's, it's hard to say he's all the time right because some of the stuff I'm like, ah. But like he's right for the most part, like he says he's like a more thought out Stu, right? He's gonna say what needs to be said and kind of leave it at that. Stu's kind of gonna go above and beyond, and no one's gonna really take him serious because he's just rambling on.
Yeah.
But they kind of have the same, like, hey, this is what needs to happen. They just go about it at different approaches, right? But listen, I think you can stop a lot of this, right? GNCC has so much stuff going on through the weekend, and I'm the first person to say, wow, they need to kind of cater more towards pros. But I'm also the first person to say they have a ton going on, and they can't keep up.
Yeah.
But for us pro riders, XC1 and XC2 for both quads and bikes, and I can't really say more on the quad side because I don't really know that side, but at least for the bikes, 100%, is we need to have a pro riders meeting. And listen, there needs to be a roll call of like, if you're not here, then there's going to be a punishment or whatever. I don't know what the punishment is or whether, that's irrelevant at this point, but there needs to be a roll call. They need to hash things out, talk about it. Hey, this is the stuff that happened last week, like the Johnny and Caleb or whatever. And even if it's not on social media, hey, does anyone have any questions? And I can sit there and say, hey, I was behind so-and-so and they did something or whatever. And then not to create like arguments, but to hash things out and say, okay, people get put on watch list or whatever, and we can have our own voice.
Yeah.
We're like, and then, like I said, I don't want to sit here and bash GNCC because I think they're doing a great job of what they have and what they do. But I think like if we get everyone kind of together, every XC1 and every XC2, kind of make it mandatory, make it more professional, make it more legit, and say, listen, like, anyone have any questions? This is what we're gonna address. This is kind of the rules. This is what's going on. I just think that would help. Honestly, I think it would help more than it would hurt. I think it would create a little bit of conflict, but I think that's kind of. But I like I said, I don't have the voice to. I mean, I can go to these like pro riders meetings at the banquets or whatever, which I don't even do good enough to go to the banquets. So I could sit there in the meetings and say this stuff, but everyone's gonna laugh. But
Hey,
I think it's a good point,
Listen, you're on OTP right now. We've gotten several rules changed through this podcast. So
well, I'm not saying that's gonna be a rule change, but I do think like they're doing a really good job at the Big Buck. They did like a rider interview thing on Friday, which no one really knew about, so it was kind of like not really a fail, but like it was kind of just like no one really knew what was happening. So I kind of got there a little bit later, and I was kind of like, I kind of just stood in the back,
Yeah.
when your results aren't that great, you're just kind of like, I'm just there.
I was expecting like them to replay that or stream it at some point because it was a cool idea. I was told there was going to be a press conference, and then the press conference kind of turned into the fan fest thing, I think is what they called it. But pretty much the only people standing around listening were the pro riders standing to the side waiting to go back up onto the stage. So like you said, I thought it was a really good idea, but I don't think many people got to see it or hear it. But I really like your idea about the pro riders meeting or the pro rules meeting, and I think that's something that would benefit from happening every single round because it's also like what I was just talking about with the consistency. Like that would, I think, hold everyone else accountable. It's like at Big Buck when Adam McGill and Josh Merritt got into it. They brought in 5 other riders and asked those riders' opinion. So it's kind of like a jury of your peers to that aspect, to where, say, if they did one at Alabama and they got all the pro riders, like you said, checked off everyone, made sure you had to be there, and kind of discuss this situation and then set a clear tone of here's what we expect, here's what's going to happen if you don't do it. I think that would help bring the consistency, and also, like you've admitted a couple times on here, not knowing rules. you're not the only one, dude. There's a lot of people that don't know the rules. So it's I think doing something like that would get everyone on the same page. To what there is no gray areas. You know the expectations and you know what's going to happen. So I think that would be a good change.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm the last person that wants to bash anybody. I know GNCC has so much on their plate, and like
Absolutely.
even when it's like, oh man, this is a great idea. It's like I think to myself like, okay, how realistic is it, right? What time are we gonna do it? Okay, there's really hardly any free time, anyways. So even if we get a
Yeah.
free time, 30 minutes or whatever, who's gonna manage it? Who's gonna corral us all, basically? Who's gonna take the roll call? Who's gonna be in charge of it? Because like, listen, the announcers announce every single race, which they don't need to be there anyways. But I'm just explaining like, uh, the announcers do like every race, every start. Uh, like Kayla's between sign up and she's running around like trying to manage a bunch of stuff. Like you got the sign up girls working crazy hours. Like everyone there on site, and JR included, like Carrie Joe, all of them, every single person on site that's staff is working sun up to sundown plus some. Like it is insane how much they work. So I can say that, oh, we need to do all this stuff, and like it sounds great, and it's like, wow, it could really help. But then again, it's like, then you look at the backhand, like, okay, is it really realistic? But then it's like, well, a lot of us are getting paid quite a bit of money, and this is a professional. It's a national series, and it's a professional sport of XC1 and XC2. So that's the thing is like you said before, you kind of have to, if you can't argue both sides, then you don't really have an opinion in it. So it's like you have to see both sides, and as much as I would love for it to happen, like I can completely understand why they don't. If that makes sense.
So what about like after the start of the 10 a.m. race, all the XC2 guys, you guys all have to be there to pick your spots on the line. So I mean,
Well,
that would.
we don't have to be.
Oh,
So that's not mandatory. Yeah, that's not mandatory. That's just and that's another thing, man. It's funny. I get a kick out of it because at the end of the day, I don't start good. So I really don't even need to be up there. I don't know why I even waste my time going up there. But yeah, those guys, they crack us up. They, at least me and a couple other guys. I think a lot of XC2 guys get annoyed and get a little pissed off, but I'm there to have a good time, and it's funny. But I don't think that's a good idea either. You know, between the races and stuff. I mean, there's no good time to do it, really. I mean, unless you want to do it at 7 a.m.
yeah, I was just offering that as a suggestion because I see the bulk of, while I thought everyone had to be there, or at least like top 10, top 15, top 20, whatever. But I guess you don't have to be there. But that's just a time that I see everyone kind of congregating in that area. So then I wouldn't think it would be much to like, hey, XC1 guys, be here at the 10 a.m. start. Because pretty much everyone's standing around watching the girls start anyway.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, you have Stu. I know Stu for sure. I saw him at Florida. He was cycling on the track when the morning race was going on. So like a lot of the XC1 guys, I know Mike Witowski goes out there when the morning race goes. I try to do my ride before the morning race. Florida, I didn't even ride. Just setting up the pits, and just, you can really only go so many places in Florida. Like lines, left, right, sand whoops,
Yeah.
and I already knew my lines in the mud, so I was like, I'll just save energy. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of stand around the start, pick your spot, and go back to the van. But realistically, I mean, the only time they could really do it is Saturday night. But then it's not fair for people that are in hotels or whatever. It's like, as soon as the quad race is done, I'm cycling the track, setting up my auxiliary pro pit, and I'm out of there. And like, can you imagine? I'll be like, okay, hold on, I need to make sure that I go to this meeting that could last however long.
Yeah.
And then I'm late for dinner, and then I'm late for the hotel. So it's just like, there's just not a good, it's really good in theory, but there's just no good time. And it sucks. But
Plus, then, like you mentioned, to that point, you get people going back and forth and arguing with each other. And you mentioned like the Caleb thing, him like talking to people. I've been on the receiving end of that before by him. It's not fun.
Have you?
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where like people like that, people like him, people like our Stu, they're not going to sit in the corner. They're going to speak up. They're going to speak their mind. They're going to make sure they get their point across. But I think I think it would be a good opportunity for them to do just that. But like you said, bringing in the logistics of it, because even if you do Friday night, everyone's not there Friday night. And then
Yeah,
once
man.
races get
Some people
going, man,
gotta
it's
work Friday.
wide open. What's your deal now? You still working at the dealership, or what are you doing?
Yeah, no dealership.
Oh,
No. Why are you smiling, dude?
you seem like you don't want to talk about it, so I guess we'll move on.
No,
I'll
I'm
put
game to
you on
talk
the spot. Tell me where you're working right now, Jesse.
about. No, I mean I'm never one to like cry me a wolf or anything. I don't post about it. I don't say nothing about it. I feel like I wear a lot of caps, but um, at the end of the day, it's like I just do what I gotta do. I like having nicer stuff as far as like my apartment's fairly nice. Um, like I make sure like I gotta buy my bikes, but I like having nice bikes. I just like having nice stuff, so I gotta work and I gotta make money. And yeah, I mean, I luckily have enough really good sponsors to help me with the cost of racing, you know, traveling, and it's not cheap. I mean, yeah, it's not cheap at all, but I do try to make it a little bit easier on myself with the videos. Like I'm making money off of YouTube, which is nice, you know, sponsorships on the YouTube videos. Um, as far as like real work, working with Tom at the suspension business, and that's a grind. It's uh it's tough because, you know, you make your own schedule, and I'm a yes man, and it sucks because I don't like being told myself. I don't like being told no myself. So when I need something and I ask someone, "Hey, can you weld this for me?" and they say no or whatever, and I'm like, "Crap, I don't like that feeling." So when people are like, "Hey, I need this done," I'm like, "Sure." I say yes. And
Yeah.
that puts me in a bad position a lot of times. Um during the week, you know, especially before our local races or whatever. It's yeah, everyone's kind of strung thin around here, and I knew Tom worked really hard when I was growing up and I was around the shop a lot and I helped out for, you know, years. And I mean, I was doing a lot of work at 12, 13 years old, 11 years old or whatever, and looking back now, it really puts into perspective how much Tom worked. I mean, uh just to go racing on the weekends and then come back Monday is the grind again. Like he literally had a full-time job and then he was doing this. Well, right now it's just a full-time job for both of us and we're still like crazy slammed. And I mean, naturally my stuff gets pushed to the back burner in a way. I mean, not on purpose, but it's like, you know, we'll work on your stuff. And I say it myself too, like I'll work on my stuff after work. Well, after work is 7, 8 o'clock at night, and then you get on your stuff. You're not out of here till 1, 2 a.m. back here the next day. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But yeah, it's all good. It's fun, and I had a really good showing at Florida. Obviously, it's sand, so I should do good at Florida. But I feel like I'm still pretty competitive on what my situation is, and I'm putting in the effort. Like I'm trying to get in as much as I can for riding and training. But uh, is it? Do I ride now like I used to? Absolutely not. I wish I rode a lot more. And like I said, it sucks because it's like I can make my own schedule, you know, quote unquote. But yeah, it's yeah, just doing the best I can with it, man. It's kind of like a dream. It's weird. It's like sometimes you think, why the heck am I even putting myself through this? But then you like do it, like Florida, and I was running so good for my expectation, and I'm like, man, it's like Monday, I was like, all right, I did my recovery ride. What can I do next? So it's like that addictive drug. It's like, man, I'm over the late nights. And then you do something cool and you're like, all right, I'm ready to do so many late nights. So it's like, it's so weird, man. But yeah, that's kind of my gig. That's try to work and I try to be motivating. I try to be relatable to the fans. I mean, like I said, I don't really post about it. I don't really talk about it. I don't really need to. Like my YouTube, like someone, not to go crazy long on this, but someone on my YouTube was like, "You don't take this serious enough," and all this stuff. And I was like, "Bro, the stuff that you watch is like literally 5% of what my life."
Yeah. And of
And
course, it's the highlights.
right, right. So like, yeah, it was crazy. But that's just the stuff, like I'm only gonna post the stuff that I think people want to see as far as that, and then kind of keep my other stuff private and just do my thing. And I joke about like, oh, I gotta go to work, but like I'm not bitter about it. Like I got to have fun. And when I was 17, 18, 19 years old, kind of by myself, I lived with Caleb for a little bit, bounced around. I was at his Florida ranch. I would go to his house in North Carolina for a couple days. I went to Charlie's for a couple days or like a couple months, lived up there for a while. So like I had my fun, and looking back, I probably could have taken it a little bit more serious. Um, but that's just part of growing up, right? It's like if you if you knew then what you knew now, things would be different, right? It's
Yeah.
how the world works. And I'm actually really happy with my situation down here. Um, every day I gotta kind of tackle the next email. I gotta tackle the next job. I gotta troubleshoot bikes that's not mine. I gotta kind of put on my business hat of like, okay, how can we make money? How can we market to where we can, do this stuff, not overbook myself, which I'm terrible at doing. But yeah, man, if I can promote my sponsors well, and I can do the YouTube thing, and I can race, and luckily I have a pretty good buffer down here in Florida, so sometimes like when I'm off my A game, I can still win, and everyone's like, "Ooh, good job." And
Yeah.
and I can post on YouTube like, "Ah, won again," or whatever. It's kind of cool for the fans, so that's about it. But I mean,
FTR
I think,
legend.
yeah, well, I want that's what's tough too, is I don't want to be known as that,
Not the FTR legend.
Well, and no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I just want to be known as like, hey, this guy's he used to be legit. Like, I think that was kind of what Caleb, like. I haven't talked to him in depth about it, or really any about his retirement and then coming back and stuff. But like, I mean, he would walk around the pits and he was known as the legend. Obviously, I'm not. I'm nowhere near that by any means. But like, I still want to be known as like, man, this guy was legit. I got a long way to go. I
Yeah.
definitely got a long ways to go, but one can dream, and I just got to keep doing it. I just
Hey man,
gotta.
part of it is keeping showing up, and I know your focus is on your racing career, but I mean, I complimented you on the show a bunch in the past, and I even did it today. But like you building yourself up as a brand, like seeing people in Jesse Ansley shirts. There's someone in the comment that said that they have a signed Jesse Ansley shirt, and I mean, I've personally see kids like stop you at the track and come up and ask for pictures or ask for autographs or whatever. So you're doing it right on that point. I think you're growing yourself outside of the sport, to couple that along with the results and stuff. But yeah, I kind of want to go into that and like go into your race this past weekend, because you were running good, and we had an impromptu meeting in the woods, which wasn't wasn't
And I didn't
planned.
even make the highlight video. We were literally changing a wheel on a sand mound, and the highlight king himself was standing there and never once even videoed us. I
Hold
was
on,
like a little
hold on.
disappointed.
I wasn't just standing there. I was part of the effort.
No, you weren't. That's illegal. You were not part of the effort,
No,
and I
yeah.
know that rule.
So I was gonna get into that. I wasn't doing anything to help, but
Yes, you were not doing anything to help.
I would never. I'm just the media guy. But I did miss a couple camera shots after that. But no. First of all, if anybody has any questions for Jesse, go ahead and drop them in the comments now. We'll get to them after we talk about the race and everything. But I did, pardon me, I know that I should remember this, but I've slept since then. Last year in Florida, you were close to a podium. What happened in that race?
Well, we can go back to, and I'm not a good stat guy. One, because it's in the past, so I really could care less. Like, I think it was 2021 or 2022, maybe. I was really close to a podium. I think it was 2021. I was close to a podium. Fourth, like, crashed off in the bushes. I never even saw them. So I was like in fourth, and then I caught third. And I like battled, obviously. Like, I wanted that position the last lap. Come through half a second. Scoring says I got fourth, and I'm like, huh? They're like, oh my God, you almost got a podium. And I'm like, dang it, man. If I knew that was third place, you know the situation I've been in right now. But so that one kind of stung a little bit, and that kind of taught me, like, it doesn't matter if it's seventh place, eighth place, 10th place, first place. Like, on the last lap, I am getting around you. If I physically can, I mean, you can ask, like, the last 4 years. If it's the last lap and I'm behind you, I'm more than likely going to get around you unless something happens. I'm just like, I just see red and I just go for it. So that kind of, it was like a bad thing at the time, but it kind of like taught me, like, okay, that last lap, it doesn't matter what position you think you're in, you just have to move forward and push. But back on last year, I was gifted with a lot of misfortune. I had something happen the first lap, which was whatever, and came through the pack, and then obviously lightning storm and stuff. So I ended up fourth. I get ragged on all the time because Tyler Medaglia beat me, and he's not even an off-road guy.
Why was he even
So
there?
we got,
He should have been in Canada.
I know he like raced Daytona Supercross the day before or something. I don't know. I'm like, why did you have to show up? But no, I mean, I got fourth again. It is, whatever. And then this year, I I crashed the first lap or the first turn. Worked my way up, ended up passing. I was in fourth, and like I would say that this year was like there was really no big mud holes. No one really crashed out. No one was like heat exhaustion. No bike failures, kind of besides DeFeo with his front brake, but he still ended up getting out there. But like nothing catastrophic had me in fourth. Like Iron Man, there was a couple people like Grant hurt his foot. There was someone else blown up. So then I was in fourth, right? But Florida, I was like actually in the battle. I was up front pretty much, fourth, fifth place, and felt really good. I was like going to the two card. Okay, like this is sick. Taking breathers when I could. Crashed, and I was like, man, that was an odd crash. Get back up, and I get back going, and my bib, it was completely gone in my rear tire, which was a brand new bib.
Like
So it was like,
disintegrated, or just the bead popped off and ruined it, or
yeah, completely disintegrated.
hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it was a brand new tire, brand new bib. Um, I'm super careful when so I don't break beads. Like I put it on like normal. I did it here at the shop, so it was like, controlled environment. So it was like I knew everything was put together right. It was just a fluke thing, and it was like, man, that sucks. Like that stings quite a bit. But there's really no need to act like an idiot or anything. So I was like, well, let's go get this thing fixed. So luckily, I had to ride a long time with it, and it was getting worse and worse to the point where there was only a little piece of bib left. And then I found my crew, and it was a little bit of miscommunication, but I found my crew luckily out in the woods where you saw us, and they're like, I don't know if I would have made it back to the pits, and that's where I stopped. We kind of talked about it, and then they're like, we're getting a wheel coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So we like kind of dug out a thing, made a little stand. And then it was a big miscommunication. Well, then my help came back with no wheel.
Yeah.
And we're like, where's the wheel? So then we went back. And at that point, I'm like, man, I should have just tried to make it back to the pit. But then it was like, if I tried to make it back to the pit, who knows where I would have been stranded,
Yeah.
At least there, I was with the people that could have done it. They got the wheel out there, by bicycle, and by phone calls and walkie-talkies and stuff. And anyways, put the wheel on, and I was like, whatever. I'm not gonna act like an idiot. I'm just gonna go out and get some points. And rode a lap, and then I just had just a little bike, like an electrical failure or something, which it kind of sucks to say, but it would have happened either way. Now that we know what the problem was, so if the wheel wouldn't have blown, I probably would have been on my way to like my career best finish, and then I would have had like a dumb mechanical, um, on the last lap.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, I mean, everything happens for a reason, and it's like at least it gave me a little bit of confidence going into Talladega and then the rest of the season. Like, okay, I can run up front because the years past, like obviously National Enduro, I have really good speed. Sprint Enduro, really good speed. And I can beat the guys that I can like. There's no reason I shouldn't be in the top 5. And I tell that to myself all the time. Last year, we took a leap of faith, and I finally got some stuff fixed that I knew was hindering me. But everyone in my corner at the time for the last, 4 years was like, no, that's not it. And so I was like, okay, it's not it. And I would just try, I mean, literally trial and error like 30 times. And it's funny because when people there towards the end, they were like, just, oh, you need to try this. And I would just laugh, like, sure, I'm not going to do that because I know it's not going to help. And anyways, uh, took a leap of faith, got it figured out, did, yeah, I got it figured out and pretty much recovered all of summer and came out, had some decent results and was like, okay, this is how I know I should ride. Like Ironman, I had a really good showing. Like it was a little dusty. I was a little timid, but it had good showing. Big Buck, you can scratch that. I don't think I've ever fallen that many times in my entire life. And then Florida had a good showing. So I know I have the sprint speed. I just need to be up there with the guys and then just ride. Like I just need to be in the fight and then everything will fall in its place. But I will say, um, dropping, like not being in the fight for 4 years and then running with them is like a shock. And it's hard to describe to people because you get to a point where you're like, I'm never going to be one of those guys. Like they're just going to beat me and you're just mentally defeated. And no matter how hard you try to tell yourself like, no, I'm better than them and look at where I beat them at. Like when you go to the GNCCs and then you're battling with them the first lap, like mentally they just have you. And so then you just start fading again. But now I'm to the point now where I'm like, you know what? Like I literally have nothing to lose. Like I'm at the end of the day, I'm kind of I'm riding for myself. And it's like I said before at the beginning of the show, like I kind of park by myself. GNCC doesn't even have a spot for me to pit, which is fine. I really could care less to be pitted anywhere. I just park on the auxiliary because it's part of the rules. That is one of the rules I do know that you got to be part of the, auxiliary pro row or whatever.
See, we know a
So I was
few.
pulling a little bit, enough to not get me in major trouble. And yeah, just park, unload, and all right, let's go do this thing. Vlog it a little bit, and yeah, I'm excited. Talladega's gonna be good. Gonna ride a little bit tomorrow, so yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why I was so gutted this past weekend because last year I remember it like being like a big thing. Like you were in fourth place, like just hoping for you to get that podium, especially at the hometown race. Got the family there, got people there. And then this past weekend was the same thing. Like saw you fall in the first turn, and then obviously I'm chasing you guys around the whole time, and then you start getting into the shots, and then you start moving up a little bit, and you're in fifth, and you come around and you're in fourth, and you're still pushing. And so yeah, dude, I was gutted when I rode by them and saw Taylor and your team and everyone out in the woods. I was like, what happened? And they kind of briefly, yeah. Yeah.
Well, they told you what was happening. I
Yeah.
mean, your media, so they're gonna tell you what's gonna happen, like what's
Yeah.
happening. But
Well, so the first thing was like them asking like where the mile markers were, and so then it's like trying to figure out where we're out on the track, and like, oh, I think the 10-mile marker's that way, and like just trying to orientate where we were at. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, it. I will get a Florida podium one of these years. And I even say, like, even if I'm done GNCC racing, I'm still gonna show up to Florida and try my hand. Why not? You know, it's Florida. It's sand whoops.
Hey, Tyler Medaglia did it.
Yeah, for real. Like 30 years old. But no, I mean,
Hey,
I'm gonna
easy,
get one. I'm gonna
easy,
get one
buddy.
1 year. Uh, I'm gonna get one, and I don't like. Obviously, it's easy to say like, oh, I'm gonna get one at Florida, but like, I want one somewhere else. Like, I want to do good outside of Florida, so that like, so it's not just a Florida thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I want to have a strong showing every race, and like, obviously, being from Florida, I don't really have an advantage like at the Mountaineer, the rockiest race of the year. But like, I want to do good there. Like, I want to be in the mix, and I don't want to be known as the Florida guy. Like, I don't want to be known as like, oh, it's Florida, you gotta watch out for Jesse, or oh, it's Camp Coker, you gotta watch out for Jesse. Like, no, I want to be with the guys. And but if I can do good at Florida, I'm not gonna like shy away from it. I'm like
What do you
tackle it
think?
head first.
What do you think is the next step to get you to that? Like what? Because obviously you got the speed, like you said, you've had success. You've beat most of these guys at other races or other places, and like you're talking about the sprints and stuff. Like you have the speed. What do you think it is that separates it from getting the results on a like at every other track? I guess.
Just the result in general. I mean, just confidence. I mean, that's all it boils down to. Like, it's just confidence and knowing that you're the baddest dude there. I mean, like you just have to just even even if you come in underprepared, like you can't second guess yourself. You cannot doubt yourself. We're at such a level where everyone's going so fast, and you just have you just have to like trick yourself. Like, that's why, and I do really good at suffering. Like, when I'm on the bicycle, I can suffer like crazy. Um, like, just because I just trick myself, like, you know, so that's why, like, sometimes, even when I'm not in great shape, I can last the 3 hours, and if I get behind you on the last lap, I'm digging because I just love suffering like that. But it's just having that confidence of knowing you're fit, knowing that your stuff's good. I mean, um, obviously there's a lot of good people around me that believe in me, and honestly, like, it's easy to come off Florida like, oh man, this, you know, I'm turning stuff around. But like, this winter, I was pretty confident. Big Buck kind of destroyed my confidence, but then again, I was like, this is a watch race. Like, I rode so out of pocket there that I just scratched it off like that. That never even happened and moved on. But yeah, I think up until this year, like, so many people believed in me even more than I've believed in myself. Which, as a racer, it sucks because if you don't believe in yourself, then you're just going backwards, right? And you don't ever want to tell your sponsors like, "Yeah, well, you think I can win, but I don't think I can win." But that's like, I think now it's like, okay, I know I have the speed. I I I know I have really good bikes. My bikes are really fast this year. My bikes handle really good. You know, so yeah, I just got to do it, you know. And when I was in XC3, obviously it was in a little bit smaller scale, or even when I was on Super Mini, it was like I didn't care who I was racing against. Like, I won the youth overall from the third row on a stock KX85 1 year. At one of the races, and then later that year at a Rocky race, I got second overall from the third row. And I was like, I was just there riding, just having fun. And same thing with Super Mini. So it's like you just kind of remind yourself, like, you just got to go back there. And when I go to the track, it's like you just have fun, no pressure. Like, I try not to stress about anything, especially this year. I just try to go there, relaxed, hang out, enjoy good company, hang out with my friends, and just try to do the best I can, you know?
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what's it been like? Like you're in the XC2 class, um, working towards those results and being the guy in there. And then last year, you see Toth come back down to XC2. You see Thad Duvall come back down to XC2. You see Toth get an overall win. You see Grant Davis win 2 overalls. Then at Big Buck start the season off XC2 full blown sweeping the overall podium. as an XC2 guy in that class and seeing those guys drop back down and seeing the XC2 level go up more than what we've seen recently, or really ever in GNCC's history, what's your thoughts on that, just from being in that XC2 class as that in this past year and a half has been going on?
I think, I mean, so many people have mixed opinions about it. Like people are like either mad or whatever. I really don't care. I mean, uh,
But then also,
at
like,
the end,
why now? Like, why is this just happening now? Why has this never been a thing before, and now all of a sudden it is?
that's a good question that I would probably have to think about. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, you're just racing yourself. Like, you show up to the starting line, it doesn't matter who's on that line, whether it's Toth, Thad, like the guys that are dropped down. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, like what they've done in the past is the past, right? Like, yeah, I think it's cool. Like for instance, like I really admire Josh and what he can do on a bike. And like it was really cool. Whether he had a good race or not at Florida, like uh he got the AMA Rider of the Year or whatever for 2024, and then 30 minutes later, I catch him from falling in the first turn, and I'm battling with him, and I'm like, "Holy crap, this is sick! Like this is so awesome!" And like I've ridden with Josh during the week, I've hung out with him, I've like I've mountain biked with him. It's like I feel like we're pretty good friends, but it was still like racing with him. I was like, man, like I passed him, gapped him a little bit. He was sprinting and he caught me. We were going pretty fast. And I was like, I don't know if this is just because it was Florida, but it was like one of the most fun times I've had on a dirt bike. And that's honestly so cool. And like, not one time was I racing him like, oh, that he should not be an XC2. Like, that is not even where my head goes at all. Same with that when he dropped down, like, not one time was I like, oh, he shouldn't be an XC2. Like, honestly, I really could care less. We're all racing, and Davis and DeFeo, I mean, they're kind of proving that XC1 and XC2 are pretty much racing together at this point. I'm really not in the fight right now. I'm still trying to get up where I'm like competitive in XC2, but these guys, I mean, Grant's going after overalls. DeFeo now is going after overalls. Gus is going after overalls. These XC2 guys are going after these XC1 guys. So it's not really, I mean, I don't know, maybe you posted about it or something about like, oh, we should just combine all the classes. And like, theoretically, we already are. It's just 250 versus 450.
Yeah. No, I made the mention of starting XC1 and XC2 all on one row, like still scoring the classes separately, but as far as the overall is concerned, like just putting all the pro riders on one line and going together. That way you're physically battling and not battling a clock.
Yeah, but I think that kind of sucks. Like you're battling with someone that you don't even like the points. You're physically battling with somebody for GNCC,
Yeah.
but that's like saying, oh, you might as well just start 250A and open together. You know what I mean? So like, it's kind of nice that, and there was one rider last year that would not get out of the way by any means when we would catch him. But you're an XC2.
Who is it? Who is it? Who is it?
I will never say, but
I appreciate you taking the time to come on. One thing that I do want to do is talk about, we're going to a new track this weekend. So we're going to look forward to the future. And what can you do to look forward to your future, Jesse Ansley? You can invest in a financial advisor. I always recommend Zach Tussle with Raymond James Financial. He is a financial advisor and a racer just like us. He actually raced at Florida this past weekend. He made the Racer TV Raw highlights. I saw him in there. But he's a racer and a financial advisor. He works for Raymond James Financial. You can find more out by going to TussleInvestments.com. That's one L, so TUSSEL investments.com. But yeah, good friend of the program, and he races and also can help you manage money, save for the future. But in our future, we're going to Slamabama this weekend, a brand new track, which I've been hearing that it's super tight. And obviously, it's the first race at any location is going to be a ton of roots. It's going to be, and supposed to be getting rain there on Saturday, so it's going to be slimy, possibly with some roots. Have you heard anything about the woods of Alabama? Have you rode anywhere near there? Like, I know there's a National Enduro in Alabama. I don't know if it's going to be similar to that. And kind of what are you looking forward to with going to a new venue? And I guess one thing I just thought of, putting a caveat on top of all of it, do you think we're going to see even more pink ribbon and water bottles in the trail since no one knows the trail this time?
I don't think the trail crew is going to make it happen. I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of white twine through the track this weekend, especially if they say it's a little bit tighter. But I have heard not a single thing, which, yeah, I literally, well, I can't say I've not heard a single thing. I haven't heard a single confident thing about Talladega weather. I've heard, oh, we're starting in the infield of the speedway. Then I've heard, oh, the track's not even at the speedway. It's 10 miles away. And I've heard so much stuff. You wouldn't even believe, like, I'm the type of person where, like, if I don't know, I just say, I don't know, man. I can't wait for it to be happening. And this is what I heard. But don't run around saying that this is true because I don't even know if it's true. And I leave it at that. Yeah. People are like, oh, man, I heard it from a great source. You're going to finish on the finish line of Talladega. And I'm like, whose source is this? Oh, I can't tell you, but they told me not to tell anybody, but this is what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I heard it's Sandy.
Tim Cotter did go on stage at Big Buck and say, we're going to Talladega. Are we going to be starting in the stadium? No, we're not going to be anywhere near it. So Tim said that at one of the riders' meeting. He confirmed that we are not allowed near it.
Good. Yeah, I'm sure. Are you kidding me?
Would have been cool. Could you imagine a start in the infield and you come out of the tunnel? Like the tunnel that goes under the track, like you ride through that on the start and out into the woods?
Listen, man, you know how many cool things could happen in life that just never happen?
Yeah, that's very true.
We can only hope. We can only wish. But, yeah, I heard it's super sandy, super rocky. I heard it's super tight, super open. I heard that it's going to be really dusty. I heard it's going to be really muddy. So I have no idea.
I did hear from a decent source that it's going to be like super tight to the point where they were having trouble getting quads through some of the sections.
I mean, that's good for me. I won a national Enduro championship.
See, look, there you go.